When Ralph Carter faded from the spotlight, something unusual happened. Instead of celebrating his choice to live quietly, people turned his silence into a mystery. The craziest part was that fans who had once cheered for him now began to invent stories about why he had left. This is how Hollywood worked. If you didn't stay visible, if you didn't chase every camera, people assumed the worst. And you won't believe how fast those assumptions became myths. Message boards, gossip columns, and even casual conversations all carried the same tone. What happened to Ralph Carter? Some claimed he was hiding his health. Others repeated the whispers about his sexuality. And here is the shocking part. None of it was based on facts. Ralph had been married twice, he had 5 children, and he had built a steady family life. Still, the world kept believing there had to be a darker explanation. What makes this story different is that people couldn't imagine a star walking away from fame without a secret to hide. Let me tell you, Ralph's story mirrored what happened to many Black actors of his time. If you didn't fit into the image Hollywood wanted, you were pushed aside. If you refused to play the clown or refused to entertain stereotypes, you were labeled hard to work with. And destiny took an unexpected turn when Ralph chose to value dignity over applause. He didn't fight for headlines and he didn't chase the fame machine. But in a world obsessed with stars, that choice was almost unforgivable. This is where it gets interesting. Ralph Carter was not a fallen star. He was a star who simply chose another path. While other child actors lost themselves to drugs, scandals, or fame addictions, Ralph quietly built a normal life. He performed at smaller venues, showed up at reunions, and gave brief appearances, but never sought the spotlight again. The craziest part is that his talents made people talk more than his presence ever did. The less he said, the louder the rumors became. And what do you think about this? Was Ralph Carter punished for refusing to play along? Or did he win by stepping away from an industry that so often destroyed its young stars? His decision to remain quiet, to protect his peace, and to build his life away from Hollywood was not weakness, it was strength. But because he didn't tell his side, people created their own. And that is why his name still carries mystery even today. The terrible Ralph Carter secret that really destroyed him was his refusal to play their game. He had been loved by millions, but behind the bright lights of television, a darker story was waiting. You won't believe how fast his world turned upside down. Let me tell you, this was not the story of a scandal or a crime. This was about a boy who dared to be himself, and destiny took an unexpected turn the moment he refused to play along with Hollywood's rules. For 40 years, people had whispered the same rumor about Ralph Carter, the young star who vanished overnight. The world thought he just faded away. But here is the shocking part. What if everything people heard was a cover for something deeper? Ralph knew something, and he dared to speak his mind. He challenged the wrong people, and then he disappeared. This is where it gets interesting because the story of Ralph Carter was not about what he did on camera. It was about what happened when the camera stopped rolling. In the 1970s, Ralph was one of the most recognized young Black actors in America. He played Michael Evans on Good Times, the sharp, outspoken son who spoke about racism, pride, and injustice when most kids his age were just memorizing lines. He was young, but he carried the voice of a generation. People loved him for his honesty on screen, but the industry did not always love how honest he was off it. And what makes this story different is that Ralph Carter's downfall did not begin with failure. It began with his strength. After Good Times ended, people expected him to rise even higher. He had been a Broadway star before the show, winning awards for his work in Raisin. He had already proven that he was not just another child actor. But suddenly, Ralph's name started showing up not in magazines, not in headlines, but in whispers. His career went silent, and the world wanted to know why. Some said it was his mannerisms, his soft-spoken nature, his style of dressing. That was all people needed to start talking. The craziest part was that these rumors were built on nothing but assumptions. One online comment in 2005 even laid it out. The writer admitted that people called Ralph gay only because of how he dressed or how he talked. But the truth was, he never chose those clothes. The wardrobe team did. In the 1970s, tight pants and bell bottoms were normal for everyone, not just Ralph Carter. The comment even reminded readers that you cannot tell someone's private life by how they look. Still, whispers grew louder, and when Ralph did not answer them, the rumors started to control the story. But here's the shocking part. Ralph Carter was not hiding in shame. He had married, had children, and built a family life away from the spotlight. He was never caught in scandals, never arrested, never broke down the way other young stars did. Instead, he was punished for refusing to play the Hollywood game. And this is where it gets interesting, because walking away from fame is sometimes harder than chasing it. The world could not believe that a star so bright could suddenly choose silence. After the show, Good Times ended in 1979, Ralph Carter was only 18 years old. That was the age when most young actors were just beginning their biggest journeys. For Ralph, the doors should have opened wide. But destiny took an unexpected turn, and instead of more roles, the doors began to close one by one. Let me tell you, this was not because he lacked talent. He had Broadway awards, a music career starting, and the respect of his peers. Yet somehow, his acting career went silent. And you won't believe how fast people began to ask questions. Some fans believed that Ralph had simply walked away, that he had been performing since childhood, and maybe wanted a normal life. That sounded simple enough. But here's the shocking part. Others were sure that Hollywood itself had pushed him out. This is where it gets interesting. Ralph Carter was serious, thoughtful, and outspoken. Even as a teenager, he wanted his role on Good Times to be more than a stereotype. He asked questions, he pushed for meaning, and he challenged writers whenever he felt his character was being reduced. In an industry that wanted easy laughs, that kind of honesty was dangerous. Esther Rolle, who played Florida Evans on the show, had done the same thing. She fought against the scripts when she believed the show was losing its heart. She even left for a season because she refused to support empty comedy. If Esther had been bold enough to do it, many wondered if Ralph had followed her lead. And what makes this story different is that Ralph Carter was not a clown, not a showman chasing headlines. He was young, but he carried himself with dignity. To some in Hollywood, that was enough to label him difficult. The craziest part was that there were no public fights, no arguments caught on camera, no proof of conflict. But whispers suggested Ralph had challenged the wrong people, producers, networks, or maybe even higher powers who controlled the industry. Those whispers claimed he was quietly blackballed, his name removed from casting lists, his career ended before it could truly begin. And even though no one had real evidence, the silence in his career seemed to prove the rumor right. Then came another layer of controversy. In the late 1980s, during the height of the HIV crisis, another rumor spread. Some said Ralph had secretly become ill. Others even believed he had passed away quietly. But let me tell you, there was no truth in this. Ralph Carter never made any statement about being sick, and there was no record to prove it. Still, the rumor lived on. And here is the shocking part. Because he had stepped out of the spotlight, people filled the silence with lies. They decided his absence had to mean tragedy. This is where it gets interesting. Ralph Carter had not disappeared into darkness. He was alive, building a family, performing in small theaters, and showing up at reunions. But in Hollywood, silence was treated like scandal. And destiny took an unexpected turn once more, because Ralph Carter became more famous for the rumors about him than for the truth of his life. Ralph Carter's journey showed a truth that many people refused to accept. Fame was not the prize he wanted to hold on to. Instead, he chose family, faith, and privacy over cameras and headlines. You won't believe how rare that was in Hollywood, where most child stars were pushed into fame until they broke. Let me tell you, Ralph Carter never broke. He simply walked away. But here's the shocking part. His quiet choice became the very reason he was turned into a mystery. This is where it gets interesting. For years, people asked why he had no major film roles, no reality TV comebacks, no tell-all book. The craziest part was that his silence was louder than any scandal. Fans filled the emptiness with lies, saying he had been blackballed, that he was sick, or that he had secrets too big to reveal. But what makes this story different is that none of those rumors ever had proof. They survived only because Ralph Carter never explained himself. His silence became their fuel. Destiny took an unexpected turn when Ralph chose a life most actors never dared to live. He married, he raised 5 children, and he built a quiet home far from Hollywood's chaos. He showed up only when he wanted to, at a reunion, in a small theater, or in the community. And each time people were surprised to see him alive, healthy, and at peace. What do you think about this? Wasn't this the ultimate rebellion? To reject the fame machine and still stand strong decades later? The truth was simple. Ralph Carter wasn't destroyed by Hollywood. He escaped it. He wasn't the tragic figure people imagine. He was a survivor who refused to be controlled. And yet, because the world couldn't accept that truth, his name stayed trapped inside endless rumors. Maybe that was the real price of walking away. But when you look closely, the terrible secret people thought had ruined him wasn't a secret at all. It was his refusal to play their game. And in the end, that was the bravest choice he could have made.